Pope Benedict once wrote that the real question in life is, who is God? Once we come to a definitive answer for ourselves about that question, then things fall into place. And we see that question arise in this scene of Jesus on the cross with these two thieves. There is an understanding that the leaders of the people and even the civil authorities have about God. God is one who is all-powerful, who can do whatever God wants, and God will do whatever is in God's own interest. That is the kind of God of the pagan world. It is Zeus who throws down thunderbolts to punish people, to show his power, but also to make sure that his interests are preserved. But in the hearing of those kinds of jeering that goes on by the leaders of the people, by the soldiers, even by this one thief who is next to Jesus, Jesus remains silent. That is not God. That is what he's telling us in his silence. But rather, he reveals to us who God is when he speaks, when he answers. And who does he answer? Not the jeering of the leaders of the people or those who are the soldiers putting him to death, or even the one who's at his side who criticizes him. But rather, he engages the one who realizes that in his suffering, he needs help. He needs God's mercy. That is what Jesus reveals about who God is. God is close to us in our moments of want, our suffering, in the moments in which we are so very vulnerable. And so today, as you're hearing this gospel, and maybe you wonder where God is in your life, in your loneliness and your pain that you suffer, in the worries that you have about your life, Jesus is telling you he's there, right there, in all of that suffering. He is present, not as one who is all-powerful for his own benefit, but rather he is with you. Pope Leo recently wrote a wonderful apostolic letter in which he said that if we want to find God, look in the life of those who are vulnerable and poor, for God has a preferential option for the poor. And so today, if we're looking for God, don't be afraid to let him in the moments of your life of want, of suffering, moments in which you worry about your life, in which you also have a sense of loneliness that you have been abandoned, for God is there. But the second thing that we learn is that Jesus says today all of this will be complete. Paradise will be yours. God doesn't put off his grace in our lives. In each of our lives today, something will happen that will give you a sense that you're not alone, that God is with you. That is so important for our understanding of what the life of the church is about and our sacraments. We believe that the risen Lord is truly present in our midst as we celebrate the Eucharist and the sacraments, as we live in the life of the church. Today, God's grace will be with us. God's grace is there. Maybe not the completeness that we want, but just enough to continue in the struggle. Today, we experience a foretaste of paradise. And the final thing that we see is that paradise and fulfillment of what God has all wanted for us is about being with him. Today you will be with me in paradise. He doesn't say today you will be in paradise, but you will be with me. We will share the life of God in the fullness that he promises for the resurrection of the dead. And that is what we really hope for in the resurrection. Not just that we as individuals are going to rise from the dead, but that we will share the very life of God. Because, as he says, today you will be with me. And where is Jesus in paradise? He's with the Father and the Son, sharing life. That is the wonderful promise that we are given in the resurrection. Not that just we as individuals are going to rise from the dead, but that together we will share the very life of God. We will be like God, as we say in our prayers. That is the promise open to us. That is who God is. God is one who shares his very life with us to the point where he sent his Son into the world to be with us, to let us know that God is with us. As a theologian once wrote, God has decided not fully to be God if he can't be with us. That is the hope that we celebrate. And so today, as Pope Benedict said to us, the real question about life is, who is God? We get an answer to that. God is not the one of the pagan world who is interested only in himself, who is there just to show his power. But rather, he's with us in our moments of want and suffering. He's also with us today, in this particular moment that we are living, that we will experience just enough grace to take the next step in our lives. And finally, God is one who is with us, and we are with him, for he shares with us his very life. That is the kingship of Jesus that we celebrate today. That is what it means for Jesus to be the Son of God. He reveals who God is for us, and it is in that that we rejoice.